Whether it's because of Little Women, Beetlejuice, or Edward Scissorhands, when you think fall, you think of Winona Ryder, right? I felt the slightest chill in the air and I said to myself, you know what I haven't seen in a long time? Heathers. I don't really know why I was under the impression that this would be like a cutesy, campy, spooky, ooky movie. You know, within the realm of like, I Know What You Did Last Summer or Scream. Hello, me again. I would like to clarify that I understand that these movies are real horror movies, and at the time of release, they were scary. But over time, you know, they've become kind of these fun cult classics that people like to revisit year over year. And so that's what I thought I was getting into when I got to this movie. It wasn't until I was watching in real time that I realized that Heathers is not a horror movie at all. Rather, a violent movie with like extremely dark themes involving lots of and weapon use in general. That's what I mean by this. That's what I mean by this. Cinephiles, please do not come for me. I'm too tired. This 1989 film was a trip to revisit, and in my opinion, really solidified Winona Ryder as the innocent girl with a dark secret that we all know and love. Heathers takes the John Hughes 80s teen dramedy and gives us an extreme and satirical, almost scary movie-like spin on the typical teen romance. Most of the comedic elements from this movie come from the supporting cast as represented in teachers, parents, and fellow Westerberg High School students. When, spoiler alert, Heather Chandler dies, the teachers are less concerned with the well-being of the student body and more intrigued by her use of the word myriad in her goodbye letter.
I must say I was impressed to see that she made proper use of the word myriad.
At the funeral, the students line up over her body. One kid looks to the sky and said,
"Why'd you have to kill such hot snatch?"
And one of the Heathers, who's supposed to be Heather C's best friend, says,
I prayed for the death of Heather Chandler many times, and I felt bad every time I did it, but I kept doing it anyway. Now I know you understood everything. Praise Jesus. Hallelujah.
Watching this movie in the 2020s as versus to the 1980s when it was made was so eerie and off-putting. The movie not only invites but forces you to adjust to this alternate universe where teachers and parents are apathetic and students are nothing but depthless and cruel. Today we're exploring Veronica's relationship with the Heathers, JD, and the community of Westerberg High School at large. Also, hi, I'm Angie. I talk about movies, TV, nostalgia mostly. You know, on this channel, we usually revisit like light-hearted movies from the millennial childhood. We've covered 13 Going on 30, the Lizzie McGuire movie, Aquamarine, The Devil Wears Prada, even like warm, fun movies. As I've said, I completely forgot that Heathers only partially falls under this category, but now I'm somehow committed to this. So thank you so much for being here with me. If you remember this movie at all, you might remember that there are some pretty dark themes that are explored in this that were relevant in the 80s and 90s and are perhaps more relevant today. While this is clearly a dark comedy, I wanted to acknowledge that before we continued looking into Veronica's relationships. So before this gets extremely confusing, I need to introduce the three Heathers, who, as a fun fact, inspired the roles of the Mean Girls plastics. Their roles are very similar. And the first time that we see these distinct personalities come out, it's shown in the very first opening credits as the girls are playing croquet with each other. Heather McNamara is on the school's cheerleading squad. She has a passive, sensitive, and cautious nature. She's the most insecure and vulnerable of the group. She's yellow, and I have worn this sweater in her honor. I don't know if you noticed, but thank you. Heather Duke serves as the Gretchen Wieners here. She's a smarter, more cunning version of Heather McNamara. She actually needs constant reminders of her role within the hierarchy, as Heather Chandler reminds her that she is green and Heather Chandler is red. In this movie, red is power, as represented in Heather C's ginormous red scrunchie in the very first frame of the movie. Heather Chandler, as you can imagine, is the Regina George of Westerberg High School. She's in favor with all the right people, she goes to the right parties, and in her words, everyone either wants to be her or be with her. She said it more explicitly than that. Again, completely forgot this was a rated R movie. So that's the general hierarchy, right? And then there's Veronica. Unlike Katie Heron, from the very first interactions we see of Veronica and the Heathers, she already has this open candor with Heather C, reminding her that maybe they should interact and pull the entire student body as versus to just the popular crowd. This dynamic surprised me a lot because at first glance, it looks like the Heathers are hazing Veronica, but they're not. She's already fully integrated into the group. The girls regularly play croquet after school, and my jaw dropped to the ground when I came to realize that the croquet was being hosted at Veronica's crib in her perfectly manicured lawn. Her parents are happily married and enjoy pate on the deck every day, basking in the sun. Given the general way things work in the world, you would think that there would be some type of drastic socioeconomic divide within the group, leaving Veronica at the bottom of the totem pole, but that's not what was happening. In fact, from the looks of it, her house could be the best one out of all of them. I even thought, similar to Katie Heron, maybe she's just the new kid at school. Maybe the other girls have had more time to foster these relationships within their community and climb the social ladder. That's not the case. We learn that she's been at this school for a very long time, long enough to leave her childhood friends in the dust. And God bless Betty Finn, and God bless Martha Dunstock, or Martha Dump Truck to the Westerberg High student body, who's just absolutely ridiculed for this entire movie. We learn that in a previous life, when social currency didn't exist, Heather Duke was actually her best friend. But when we meet her, she's entirely isolated and actually tries to end her life by walking into traffic.
Is she dead?
No, that's the punchline. She's alive and in stable condition. Just another case of a geek trying to imitate the popular people of the school and failing miserably.
Unlike the staged events that Veronica and JD pull, and Heather Duke is actively trying to make a play on taking Heather C's spot as Queen Bee. High school survival dynamics are so interesting. Veronica clearly regrets her lost relationships, but continues to pursue her surface level and at times cruel friendships with the Heathers. At some point, after an emotionally intimate moment at a convenience store, she tells JD, "I don't really like my friends."
Yeah, I don't really like your friends either.
Well, it's just like there are people I work with and our job is being popular. And
After Heather C's death, she says, "I just killed my best friend and my worst enemy." She also revels in disgust when she comes to find that the student body is actually mourning Heather, and they think that Heather C had more depth than she actually had. At no point does she even really acknowledge the benefits of fitting within this system or holding status at the school. She's seemingly just going along with it because that's just the way it is, and she's somewhat fearful of the consequences of getting on the Heather's bad sides. She finds her exit plan in the new kid, Jason Dean, a brooding and rebellious bad boy. Can I just say, I don't know if your high school had this, but in my school, there was a term called trench coat kid. I tried to look up the term on Google. It doesn't exist. I guess it's not a thing. Maybe it's just my own experience. But the term trench coat kid in my context was coined for the lonely guy in the back of the classroom who gave the impression of an unsocialized or violent student. Jason Dean, or JD, fits that description to a T. He literally wears the long trench coat the entire movie, inside, outside. It don't matter to JD. He's got the trench coat on. Also, fun fact, Jason Dean's name was inspired by James Dean's role in Rebel Without a Cause, solidifying his rebellious bad boy behavior. As I was watching, I came to realize that all of these archetypes can be found in high schools all across the country, maybe even around the world. So JD piques Veronica's interest. He's like the nonchalant final boss. As Veronica explores this new relationship, we learn that JD has transferred to 7 different schools in 7 years due to his father's work as someone who works in demolition. He and his father do not have a great relationship. There's a lot of resentment there built up, not only from being forced to move schools, but also because his mom isn't in the picture. Why, you ask? JD's mom voluntarily ran into a building that JD's father was about to blow up, and then he actually blew up the building. JD and his father are so disconnected that they speak to each other in this passive-aggressive tone where they kind of role play each other's parts. So his dad will be like, "Hey, Pop, need some help with homework?" And JD, assuming his father's role, would be like, "Hey, Tiger, not right now, I'm busy," echoing conversations that I'm sure he's had plenty of in his childhood. With all of this, it's not hard to understand JD's nihilistic view on his lack of connection with fellow students, disinterest in the societal hierarchy, and general understanding of what intimacy looks like both platonically and romantically. Veronica falls into this extremely high-intensity, love-bomby relationship because she feels seen by JD in a way that her friends can't see her. The two bond over shared hatred for the system that's not only embedded into their high school's culture, but society as a whole. After a college party gone wrong, she sees comfort in the guy who's not like other guys. She ignores clear red flags and evolves into like the Bonnie to his Clyde, accepting a new reality where violence and excessive crime are normalized, fostered, and encouraged. And you know what, you sickos, me included, I feel the need to point out that although Veronica fell down a slippery slope, sure, I actually think a lot of us could have gone down her path if JD were hot enough. Might I remind you of the absolute mayhem that was TikTok in 2020 when that Heather's song went viral? Perhaps you remember this video, or this video, where all of the comments are like, "I would open the door immediately. Veronica, what are you doing, girl? Open the door. Since you asked nicely, I would open the door." Like this video if you had a moment with the sound as it was going viral so as to not make me feel weird about this. It did something to me. I know there are some of you out there. Please let me know if you know what I'm talking about. So with that in mind, I would like to extend a little bit of empathy to Veronica when it came to her poor decision-making skills around JD. Maybe the intensity is sometimes intriguing. Maybe Veronica is experiencing fear and mistaking that for like a fun adrenaline rush. I don't know. Don't be rude to Veronica. Hell is a teenage girl. You could not pay me enough money to go back to high school and re-experience the convoluted feelings about group hierarchy, young female friendships, and your first love who was high-key controlling, codependent, and toxic. For what it's worth, I think Veronica did a great job at navigating these really weird years. Even taking back control via Heather Chandler's red scrunchie.
Veronica, what are you doing?
Heather, my love, there's a new sheriff in town.
And redefining what it looks like to be a strong girl at the top of the food chain. If you liked this video, please maybe watch one of these, maybe subscribe. You lose nothing by subscribing to me. You know what I mean? I think we're having a fun time. We talk about movies. We talk about girlhood. Look how much fun we're having here. I'm having fun. Okay. All right. Okay. Love you so much. Bye.